It's good that after almost 8 years of waiting, BioWare finally deemed it appropriate to give us a sliver of Dragon Age. And while it's a sliver that will definitely stimulate your appetite, leaving you desperate and hungry for more, it still manages to scratch a certain itch. Frankly, I expected Dragon Age Absolution to be a shit show. I was pleasantly, albeit mildly, surprised. To be clear right off the bat, the show is by no means mind-blowing, or incredible, or even very good for that matter. It is good though, and I'm thankful for that. The art style is terrific, the characters visually appealing and distinctive, the locations decently fascinating, if not very varied. The animation flows incredibly well, everything happening astonishingly smoothly and seamlessly. And that's a necessary success, given that the show spends a lot of its runtime in combat scenes, so it has to look good. And it does. It looks fantastic. It's fast-paced, flashy, and impactful, and does a great job of capturing the feel of the games. To me, it was particularly reminiscent of Dragon Age 2, especially with how quick it was and how resounding every blow felt. The fights, and the show overall, also doesn't hesitate to embrace Dragon Age's mature dark fantasy roots, with blood and gore for days. But if you're a Dragon Age fan, you know that what really sets the games apart are their characters. Absolution needed to really nail its characters in order to secure the support of the fans. They needed to make them deep, complex, interesting, and entertaining, which is by no means an easy feat. BioWare excels in its character writing, so it's not simple to match that. Fortunately, the show manages to get by with the reasonably interesting characters that gradually grow on you as the show progresses. They all feel like familiar Dragon Age characters, but not familiar enough that they're copies of characters we already know and love. Character banter and interaction is great and endearing, managing to decently balance and flesh out individual and whole party relationships. The writing obviously isn't at the level of the games, and we don't see anywhere near enough of the characters for them to feel as real and as human as the ones in the games do. But it's just enough. I only had problems with one character, which sadly happens to be the protagonist, Miriam. Too edgy for my taste, to a degree that it kinda came off cringy, and she felt too similar to other elves in the series like Fenris. More on that, I feel like I've developed an allergy to, oh, look at me, I'm such an invincible badass type of characters, which is basically what she is at the start of the show. She kicks asses, tosses edgy one-liners, throws hints about her mysterious past, and occasionally acts like a hypocrite. Our first scene with her, she knocks a bunch of fellow mercenary climbers off a rope as they scale some walls. Miraculously, they don't die, but it still made me dislike her right from the start. Things start to get better once you learn more about her, but the edginess never fades. Her arc, her words, her reactions, they all fit the tortured edgelord tropes to a T, and I'm frankly tired of that character type. It was just too cliché for me to enjoy. It wasn't until the last episode that I finally started liking her, given that the direction her character arc takes her manages to inch her away from the stereotype slightly, making her easier to swallow. I especially enjoy the antagonists here, maybe even more than our party of protagonists. Rezarin and Tasia are relatable and even sympathetic in many regards, and while they don't really bring anything new to the table as characters, they were still executed well, and I found myself really enjoying every scene they were in. Absolution's plot is a typical heist gone wrong, but endearing protagonists and interesting antagonists take precedent over the actual events and make the plot reasonably enjoyable despite it not really innovating anywhere. Additionally, there are enough twists and turns to give it an extra layer of suspense, which I honestly did not expect. All in all, it is a fairly enjoyable affair. In case you're not familiar with the Dragon Age games, they are incredibly choice-heavy RPGs. Each player can have wildly varying world states across the 3 games, with various unique events occurring, different characters surviving, factions possibly expanding, all according to each player's unique choices. For that reason, Absolution couldn't really delve into Dragon Age's rich lore or main narrative, given that any references it makes to main story events would differ according to player. Instead, it had to contend with limiting itself to this group of characters in one central location. And while it's sad that we didn't get to really see the vast depths of what I consider the richest, most interesting dark fantasy universe ever created, I still commend the writers for managing to pull off what they did given their restrictions. We didn't get much of the political, social, and racial struggles that dominate Dragon Age, but if we end up getting a second season, hopefully we will. With the first season under their belts, the writers will hopefully be more capable capable of skirting around possible player choice implications and utilizing what they can of Thedas' absolutely fascinating lore. One of my only issues here is that what little lore and background information that they did use from the games was not very well explained, which can make the show intimidating for newcomers and those unfamiliar with the games, or even uninteresting given that the show sometimes fails to provide enough about the setting to distinguish it from other similar entries in the fantasy genre. But yeah, all in all, Dragon Age Absolution is good. I'm a huge Dragon Age fan. I've played all the games and consumed practically every other piece of Dragon Age media as far as books and comics. I even ran a Dragon Age D&D campaign at one point. So yeah, I think I'm pretty much a target audience for this, and I'm glad it didn't disappoint. Though it started off rocky with the first episode, Dragon Age Absolution found its way into my heart as it went on. It surpassed my admittedly ankle-deep expectations, taking me on a short but sweet ride that sorta scratched my Dragon Age itch while also reawakening the beast of an appetite that I have for the franchise. I'm glad I enjoyed it, and here's hoping BioWare gives us something about Dreadwolf that is more than just breadcrumbs sometime soon. But anyways, make sure to let me know what you thought about the series in the comments below, and if you're a fellow Dragon Age fan, then please take this opportunity to sound off in the comments about the torturous lack of information regarding Dragon Age 4. Perhaps it'll bring us solace if we complain together, pun intended. But anyways, if you've made it this far into the video, I'd like to sincerely thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate you giving me some of your time, and I hope I managed to at least slightly entertain or inform you in the meanwhile. If you'd like to see more reviews, video essays, and the like, I'd really appreciate it if you left a like and maybe subscribed. It truly means a lot to me. Take care, and I'll hopefully see you soon. Goodbye.